Today, I want to tell you the greatest story that's ever been told. If I do nothing else today, I want to make sure that you hear this message and that you understand it clearly. It's a story about the person that we call Jesus. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't know what Jesus looked like. I have a picture of him here on this paper. It's just sort of an icon drawing of Jesus who is standing and he's got his arms outstretched. You know, he oftentimes would welcome people. He wanted people to know that he loved them. And you know what? Jesus did so many different things while he was here on earth. There were people that didn't like some of the things that he did. And here, I'll show you a couple of things that he did. Why, one time he went out onto a boat. And while he was out on that boat, and he taught the people from a boat. Then he went out into the deep waters and did a miracle where they caught many fish. Well, as a matter of fact, one time he was out on a boat and there was a terrible storm and he calmed the storm. Jesus did all these amazing miracles. It was so very cool. And then one time, Jesus was at a house. He was there teaching. The house was so full, nobody else could get in. So guess what? Some people climbed up on top of the roof and they lowered a man down who could not walk. And Jesus did two things. He said, "Your sins are forgiven." And then he did a miracle and he caused the man to walk. He did a miracle of forgiving his sins, and then he did the miracle of restoring his legs. That is so cool. One time, Jesus was telling his disciples that he would go away. You know, I know that back in the Bible days, they didn't have airplanes, but I'm sure that if you and I heard Jesus talking about going away off to heaven, we would think Jesus was taking off. And he said, "I'm going to go there and I'm going to prepare a place for you." Jesus also made a claim. He said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." In other words, he said, "Listen, guys, I am the one way that points to the Father." Later on, he also said, "I and the Father are one." In other words, Jesus made the claim that he is God. Jesus did all these amazing things, but unfortunately, there were people who did not like what he had to say. So they captured him. They took him away, and they did something terrible. They began to hurt him. They took and they punched him. They blindfolded him. They whipped him with a whip. They took a big cross, put it on his shoulders, made him carry it up a hill until he couldn't carry it any longer. And then they took the body of Jesus and they nailed it onto a cross. And it was on that cross that Jesus bled and he died. He paid the price for your sins and for mine. I'm so thankful for that. That's the other way Jesus would reach out his arms. He would reach out his arms and allow himself to be crucified like that. But here's the good news. Jesus didn't stay on the cross. After Jesus had died and he let out his final breath, calling out, "It is finished." Why, they took the body of Jesus and they took it and they prepared it for burial. In other words, they took and they folded up the body into some grave clothes. They wrapped the body very carefully so that it would be just right. As a matter of fact, they took the body of Jesus and they allowed him to be put into a borrowed tomb. There's a reason that it was a borrowed tomb. It was a borrowed tomb because it wouldn't be needed very long. You see, Jesus had told his followers that, "Listen, guys, I don't go away for forever. They're going to take me and they're going to do this, but I'm going to come back. I will rise." Well, The body of Jesus was taken and wrapped up inside of that tomb. The tomb was closed. As a matter of fact, it says that they took a huge boulder and they covered the opening of that tomb. And after 3 days, count with me, 1, 2, and 3. After 3 days, something happened. You see, he said, on the third day, I will rise again. And on that morning, his followers went to the tomb, and here was something strange. The boulder, or the huge stone that had been covering the opening, it was gone. As a matter of fact, something was different. Instead of finding the body inside of the tomb, they were greeted. They were greeted by an angel. And an angel that had a very, very special message for them. The angel said, listen, he's not here. He is risen, just as he said. It was a glorious morning because what Jesus said would happen came to pass. It was true. Jesus is alive today, and that's why we celebrate. That's why we celebrate as Christians, because Jesus is no longer dead. He's alive. His body is not in the tomb. He got up and walked out. He's alive today, and he can be alive in your life.